Hello, my name is Masasi Kraganegara. So today I will solving problem on these videos and make and hello, my name is Masasi Kraganegara. So today I will solving problem on this PowerPoint. So without further ado, let's begin. Problem one. Mr. Thompson is a linguist studying the use of language in news reporting. He is particularly interested in how language can convey bias, shape public opinion, and influence the perception of news events. Mr. Thompson analyzed articles from various news outlets covering the same events to identify linguistic patterns that may indicate bias. He also considers the impact of these linguistics choices on the audience understanding and interpretation of the news. So the question is, what linguistic features should Mr. Thompson focus on identify bias in news reporting? Discuss at least three features and explain how they can contribute to bias reporting. So problem one answers is musical choice. Word selection. Words are never truly neutral. The vocabulary used in news reporting carries specific connotations, and those connotations can reflect a particular stance. For instance, if a protest group is described as freedom fighters, it suggests heroism and legitimacy. On the other hand, calling them rioters or terrorists implies violence and chaos. Both terms describe the same group, but the emotional impact on readers is vastly different. Mr. Thompson should analyze how different media outlets label the same subjects or events, as these labels can signal underlying bias. Voice and agency, active versus passive sentence. The choices between active and passive voice plays a big role in shaping perceptions. In active voice, the subject is clearly identified, such as in the police shoot the protester. In passive voice, like the protester were shoot, the agent, the police, is removed, which can reduce accountability or soften the impact. When media selectively use passive construction, it may be attempt to obscure blame or avoid controversy. Mr. Thompson should identify patterns where the agents of actions are constantly omitted or included depending on the subject. The third is framing and narrative structure. Framing is how the story is structured and from whose perspective it is told. For example, if a news story only includes quotes from governments official and ignores the voices of affected citizens, it can present a one-sided narrative. The sequencing of information, what is placed at the beginning or emphasized in the headlines, also plays a role. Mr. Sampson can evaluate it if one side is constantly positioned as a more credible while others are marginalized. This kind of narrative shaping contributes significantly to public opinion. So the problem two. Imagine you are a language planner working for government of a country with a diverse linguistic landscape. The country has several indigenous languages spoken by different ethnic groups as well as dominant national language used for official purpose. Your task is to develop a language policy that promotes linguistics diversity while ensuring effectively communication and national unity. So the question is, how can the government promote the use and preservation of indigenous language through education? So 1. Implement bilingual education at early stage. One of the most effectively ways to preserve indigenous language is to incorporate them into the early years of education in primary schools. Children can be taught in both their native language and the national language. This helps students stay connected to their cultural identity while also gaining the skills to participate in national global context. Train teachers from local communities. Native speakers of indigenous language should be trained as educators. They understand the cultures, values, and nuance of the language better than anyone else. Providing a teacher training programs in rural or minority areas can empower local communities and improve the quality of education. And the third is create and distribute learning materials in local language. The government should invest in developing textbooks, storybooks, and digital media in indigenous language. This helps normalize the use of local language in formal settings. Educational TV shows or mobile apps can also be designed in native language to make learning accessible and engaging. So the last is recognize indigenous language in national policy, including local language in the national curriculum and recognizing them officially will reinforce their importance. Schools should not treat them as inferior or secondary, but as equally valuable language for learning and communication. So that's all from me. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye.